So first up, let's talk about the markets. Kind of give us your thoughts on the markets right now.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right, here's what I'm thinking. Can I start with China?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's just sort of ponder this chart like artwork, sort of, as I talk about China. All right, China changed the whole game. Okay, the chart was okay. I liked it. Then the chart broke down and I kind of caved because I was like, oh my God. And then the Chinese did something. Now, I know at face value, it looks like they came out and they said something positive that they wanted to dominate blockchain. And you might be saying, well, how did that help crypto? Well, here's how. The Chinese and the Russians for 10 years have been buying all the gold and silver on the planet, literally, in an attempt to undermine the US dollar. Okay. And that hasn't worked. It hasn't. And they're getting pushed around by Trump. And whether they're winning or losing the trade war, it's just kind of embarrassing to get pushed around like that. Okay.
Mhm.
So they came out, and what they've announced, like under the surface, is that they're now pro crypto as a way to sort of undermine what's going on with the dollar. Okay. So I think the Chinese have told you that if Bitcoin goes to 50,000, they're not going to stop it. They're not going to get upset. They're going to just let it fly. Okay. So from there, let's go to the chart, because in their mind, anything is better than the dollar. So they're going to want the digital renminbi. And if the digital renminbi and Bitcoin appreciate massively, well, then they'll be happy. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. Okay. So there is wave one, and Ian talked about wave one, right? All the technology guys who bought Bitcoin at 50 because they knew what blockchain was, it went to 20,000 and they bought nicer cars, right? And if they were right, and then hopefully they got out of most of it, but if they didn't, they had to watch it go to 3. And that's very typical of second waves, right? Where everyone gets out, everyone gets washed out, and complete despair kicks in. That's what you had at 3,000. Okay. And then what then occurs is you have a big, what they call an Elliott wave. You have, see, there's the 2 here. Okay. So you have the 2 wave, that's despair. And then it turns into the 3 wave, which is, moon Lambos in crypto terms. Although, I like moon and Lambos, but I don't like using the terms. They're,
together.
I gotta be cool, right?
Yeah.
So what happens in a 3 wave is when it starts, you get this initial burst, right? That was the move to 13,000 earlier this year. And then you get mini despair and boredom. Okay. You get boredom that turns into despair, which is what we had at 7,400. Okay. So if you look at this monthly chart, right, this gray area here, okay, an ex-colleague of mine would call this a bullish breaker, right? So it broke down from here in August, and then it came back above it, and it held right there. Okay. That was the monthly candlestick, okay, for October. So even though it was boring, even though it was choppy, even though there was like this hard bottom that I missed and a lot of other people did, it's okay. You know why? Because it retested a critical support. And it means that the third part of the third part can begin now in January or soon. So what does that mean? Well, the spice of life in the technical analysis world is catching the meat of the third part. It's called 3 of 3. That's just jargon. What that means is that should be a very impulsive period. Impulsive meaning Bitcoin goes up 2% every day and then has a 5% downdraft and then just starts going up 3-5% every day.
So basically massive FOMO in a way.
I would call it like FOMO light.
FOMO light.
Not Guinness, but foam, light beer, light beer.
Okay.
right? And what that means is, the market will go up enough to get people excited, but it'll go up and people will like, well, gee, I don't know if I want to chase it. And then it'll go up a little more and people will go, oh, gee, I don't know if I can chase
So
it.
slowly, gradually
Right.
going up.
Right. Gradually going up every day until you're right. FOMO eventually kicks in, but the first wave is not FOMO necessarily. That's probably an awkward transition to the rest of it because, you can start talking about upside targets. We use Fibonacci extension analysis. So Fibonacci, if has two ways of looking at markets. A market will go up and then retrace, or a market can go up and then extend. And the Fibonacci mathematics help you come up with like levels. Okay. So we came up with 29K. In other words, if there really is a FOMO move, it's going to go past 20K. It is. And then we think there might be a retracement to 24K. And then who knows from there, right? A lot of people talk about 50,000. You know what? I can actually draw 50,000 on a chart.
Wow. Okay. So
I could draw it, right?
yeah.
So, I can definitely draw a 29K because of this with the bullish breaker and the Chinese, right? So, there is absolutely no reason why Bitcoin cannot go to 20,000. I think the only reason, just for the sake of being balanced, okay, not waffling, not hedging, just for the sake of being balanced, the only thing that's going to stop this is if a Western government comes out and says crypto is illegal. Now, here's what's funny. The country that I was worried about that happening in, France, was on Zero Hedge today that they just launched a program to start teaching crypto to kids in school. So the country I was worried about banning it is now teaching it in school. So that's one less worry for crypto. All right. So, that's how I'd look at Bitcoin. If I could just jump to Ethereum on the monthly chart. Okay. I've got more Fibonacci mathematics here. These lines are drawn using Fibonacci math. So I select this line here and these other lines are automatically drawn. Okay. What's interesting is right here, we had the bottom in Ethereum. Okay. That was 2017. These lines line up with the top here in 2017 at 1500 and with a despair point in January. And the next kind of signal period may be in January. So, Ethereum has been boring us to death at 180 for a while, and who knows, that could continue. But I would expect in January for Ethereum to wake up based on this monthly chart because it fits the Bitcoin analysis.
Wow. Okay. I mean, so things are definitely turning more positive.
They're turning more positive, and in my mind, they're getting more clear from a chart point of view. It's easier. It feels easier to read the chart now, right? Like, again, with Bitcoin, this point holding is a great reference point, right? Like for some reason, if it goes down below 8K again and attacks that level, it's got to hold as support, right? That's easy. If support holds, it's going up. What could probably happen here is we could sit around at 9K and we could do in Bitcoin at 9K what we've done at Ethereum in 180, which is bore everyone to tears before 3 of 3 kicks in. And in the meantime, that, I don't want to get ahead of the show, but that sort of segues into another crypto theme I've got about alts. But, we can talk about that. I'll let,
so
you're the show host.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to just ask the questions in the comments and our team will take care of it. We're taking questions from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching this, preferably on the Token Metrics channel. It is still also going to my personal channel as well.